Hello, everyone, and welcome to this PractiTest live training session and Q&A. My name's Anthony. I'm a customer success manager at PractiTest, which means that I'm here to help support our customers, go through use cases with them, onboard them, train them, and also work out solutions to commonly known problems within the system that people bring up and ask about. And the purpose of this session is really to give you an overview of PractiTest, the various capabilities that it has, and to answer any of your questions. If you're a current user, then welcome to the session. Please feel free to ask questions at any point. And with regard to new people who are new to PractiTest, again, welcome and hope you enjoy this overview of the system. I only have one rule on these sessions, and that is they're informal. So please feel free at any time to either butt into the chat, raise a hand, ask a question in the Q&A. We can stop the discussion, discuss your particular problem or question that you have, and work through that as part of the system of talking in the session itself. Just to do a little bit of housekeeping to start with, and that is to talk a little bit about the introduction to PractiTest, what we are. We were founded originally in 2008 as a fully SaaS company, already very much ahead of the trend of SaaS companies. We're on the cloud, which means that we can give immediate updates. You don't have to install anything on your premises. You just use your web browser to access the system. And we specialize in both manual and automated testing. So for the manual testing, as you'll see, we'll go through a flow, can show you exactly how you can do manual testing in PractiTest. You put your test cases in, you execute your test cases, you write your bugs, either in PractiTest or integrated with Jira or another tool. We have several integrations for project and issue management. And then we can also talk, we're moving now as it gets towards 2023 to look at the AI side as well. So we're beginning to do AI-driven test management. We're just starting to go through the process of releasing AI with regard to things like value scores, and also to help you write your test cases in an AI environment as well. So that if you have your name for your test case, you should, and a bit of a description, you should be able to then create your steps in an AI-driven environment using ChatGPT or similar. So that's where we are with regard to ourselves in PractiTest. Compare this to other solutions and the way that the world was working. Back in 2008, most software was on-prem. You bought your software, you didn't get updates for it for a while, maybe 1 or 2 updates a year. You then had to go and install them, test them out yourself, see if they work. If they didn't work, then the company would have to supply a patch and try and fix it. That could take months to come. And so, sort of very much legacy operation. The operation for the actual orchestration of tests was in silos that you were talking about, waterfall, and working very much within separate areas. So it's all cordoned off from each other without being a great deal of integration and working together. And now, in 2023, AI is beginning to come in, but whereas for us it's taken for manual testing and for everything, AI is being used mainly for automation in other areas of testing. So you can see that we're trying to build a clear water between ourselves and others, and that goes back to the philosophy of PractiTest itself and where we started from. When we were founded, we weren't founded by people who thought, oh, we're software engineers, let's go and create a product. It was actually founded by testers for testers. One of the founders of PractiTest was in a big enterprise company in telecommunications, and he was head of testing there. He was using products like QC, and he realized the limitations of QC. And he got together with a couple of ex-university colleagues. They said, let's produce something for testing, which will be as powerful as QC, but much lighter, and also something which we can make much cheaper to market than QC as well. And so we have a lot of ideas taken from QC originally, and then developed on our own give as good a test management solution as possible. You can see that we're trusted by companies across the world, across all sectors. We have companies in retail, finance, technology, healthcare, government, gaming, and more. Choose your company, you are sure to recognize several of them that are in this chart over here. And they trust PractiTest with their testing, their users, and they have followed our philosophy and have successful testing teams bringing the best quality that they can as a result of their testing processes. We are an established leader in the sector. We have very high G2 scores, and we're in Gartner reports as well. You can see all information about us across the web. And we deliver quality software faster. That is our motto. We try and have a user-friendly platform. At the moment, it's going through a big UI UX update because it started off from 2008. And of course, what people like to see and the eye candy for people now in 2023 is very different from what it was in 2008. And what was considered to be best practice and for UX then is very different now. So we are in the process of going through a big UX upgrade. Don't be afraid, though, it will not affect your ability to use the software. We will not take away any functionality as a result of the UX upgrade, and it's going to be incremental. We've already started, but it's incremental through the system, and so you won't suffer any loss of work, any problems with your work as a result of it. And finally, when it comes to privacy and security, unfortunately, we have to talk about this because we live in a world where people try and steal information. We are both ISO 27001 certified. We also have a SOC 2 report for the SOC standards, and that is updated every year. So we have the highest level of security in the industry. And of course, the EU stars underneath means that we are GDPR compliant as well. Just take a look at what our customers say about this. This is just a couple of testimonials. We couldn't fit all of them on the page, obviously, but if you look through our website, you can see plenty of testimonials about PractiTest, how much we are appreciated by our customers, how we've helped them to improve their workflow, and at the end of the day, shine a light onto their testing processes, their test teams. Their test teams are now considered to be vital in their companies, and they're able to show the value of the test team and also the value of quality in general and how it can make a difference to any company's bottom line. Finally, just a little mention of what's coming up in the future. We have a special session in 2 weeks' time, which is our live training, and that will be about tried and true hacks, tips and creative ideas for PractiTest. Not that this session isn't going to be tried and creative as well, but it's going to focus specifically on tips and tricks of using the software. And that's going to be at American time, particularly for the American time, 2000 Central European time, which equates to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can sign up for that on our website, same place as you signed up for this one. That will be available for signing up for. And also, in addition to that, coming up in next week, on the 13th and 14th of November, is our online test conference. Again, just like we were in SaaS long before most other companies were, we also were producing conferences long before everyone else. We do a yearly online test conference where we have some of the best names in the industry sharing their new ideas, the ideas which they've developed over the course of years for good testing practice. Please go to the Online Test Conf website, onlinetestconf.com, have a look at it and sign up. Unlike almost all other conferences, we are completely free at point of use. And so any of you, whether you're a PractiTest user or not, is welcome to sign up at the Online Test Conf, download the agenda, and then attend the sessions on the 13th and 14th of November. They're geared towards US time, so that for our friends in the US, it's in a good time of day, but also it's in the evening for most of the rest of the world as well. For Europe, it's during the evening, runs through the evening. So you can sit at home with a cup of coffee in front of the screen and watch the online test sessions. If you can't make it to the sessions themselves, then you can download them. Just sign up for the conference and you can download any of the sessions. We also have Slack channels running so that you can take part in discussions, both of the actual sessions and also as a networking opportunity as well. It's one of the things that we discovered in COVID, that one of the big differences between online comps and physical conferences is that at physical conferences, you can actually network with people. But as our online conference, you can also network with people because we have Slack channels to allow you to network as well. So you can talk to other people in the industry, get ideas and feedback from them as well. Just a very brief mention of today's agenda before we actually get into it. We're going to look at a PractiTest workflow, taking you through the use of the system. We're then going to make a very brief mention of test automation tools. We'll also talk about reports and dashboards actually at the beginning, and then questions, not just at the end, but at any time you like during the course of the session. Please feel free, as I said, raise hands, put on in the Q&A, and then what I like to do is promote you to the actual discussion, let you ask your questions so that everyone can hear it, and then we can discuss the answer and work through an answer together, because Chinese whispers work much worse than actually talking to somebody. So please feel free to ask questions at any time. I'll promote you to the panel discussion. We can discuss the question and everyone can share the answer together. So let's start now. I'm going to take you into PractiTest, and all you have to do to get into PractiTest is to type in, once you've created an account, you can create a trial account for 2 weeks free of charge. No credit cards required to be input or anything like that. You just put in your email address, a couple of details, and then you can create an account. And all you do to log into PractiTest.com is to type in the words prod.practitest.com. That will take you initially to the login page. Once you've logged in, then typing that in, it will automatically find the home page of your project. And this is the home page of my project over here. So I've got some dashboards over here. And at the end of the day, you can do all your testing in the test tool. You can organize your tests, you can put them together, you can execute them. But if you can't share information about what you've been doing, then at best, you've got limited benefits from using a test tool. Then at the end of the day, you need to be able to have dashboards and reports. Dashboards so that you can show in real time what's going on. Somebody says to you in product development, we've got a release coming up in 2 days' time. Are you nearly there? You can just show them this dashboard and say, in fact, you can even send them the link to the dashboard, because dashboards in PractiTest do not require a login to be able to use them. You can create a coded URL where you can share a whole dashboard tab with somebody. If you have Confluence or some other wiki tool which accepts iframes, which supports iframes, then individual dashboard items can be embedded into a page. So you could take a couple of dashboard items from different dashboard tabs. You can have multiple dashboard tabs in multiple projects as well. You can just put the plug them onto a wiki page, embed them into a wiki page, write a little bit of explanation about them, and because they're iframes, they'll update in almost real time. And so people will be able to see at any time exactly what's going on with your project and know where you are with a particular release and say, oh, look, we're almost there, or there's still some way to go. And you can justify, because these are driven off the actual results of your testing, you can justify to anyone in product or your CEO, CTO, whoever it is, your decision just by showing them these dashboard charts. But of course, dashboard charts are at a high level. They don't show the results of individual tests. They don't show what passed and what failed on an individual level with an explanation of it. For that, we have another area of the system, which is Excel reports. And you can create it. Excel reports for whatever you need. And you can do them at the execution level. You can do them at the test case level if you want to do something like a test case review. You can show people test cases. Or you can do them over here at instance level, which I've got over here, just to show you an example of an Excel report. Here we are, we've got some charts, which you could customize. And bear in mind, not just this, everything in the report is customized. So here I've got my test week name, I've got my sprint number, which is blank because I'm filled it in. Oh, yes, I have. There we are. 1.6, 1.6 sprint, etc., 22, etc. I've got those. I've got my linked IDs of the tests over here. Well, my issues ID, my test linked ID over here. And I've got my issues over here. I've got the name of the test which I'm running. I've got the run status. I've got when it was last run. I've got its step. I've got the names of the steps, step description, expected results, actual results, step status. So I've got all these sorts of information which I need. If you've got custom fields that you want to include, supposing you're testing on different browsers and you want to put the browsers in here, that you can do as well. This is entirely customizable. And the great thing about this is being an Excel report, you can manipulate it however you want. You can do things like pivot tables with it if you want to. You can also archive it, sign it off using any signing software which can cope with Excel files. And then once you've signed it off, it becomes a true record of what you've tested. So you can then take these, archive them away, and then somebody comes along 6 months later and says, why didn't you test this? It's failing. And we've got a whole caboodle going on because it's failing and now we've got a problem. You can pull out the report from 6 months previously and say, yes, I tested it, and here's the evidence that I tested it, and it passed. So it's nothing to do with me, but something's gone wrong. So you're able to use your archive reports here to show information as to what's passed or failed. And in the final tab, we've got issues. You'll see here, and we'll talk about this more in a minute, that we've got JIRA issues over here. So these are JIRA IDs, and they are visible in PractiTest. You can see the current status of these issues, and then the names of the issues over here on the right. So it gives you a fair amount of information about what's been dealt with, what hasn't been dealt with. If there's something which still says that it hasn't been finished, then you know that you were allowed to finish this test run. You can put a note into the Excel saying that these issues were not completed because we agreed with product management, whatever it was, that we don't have to finish them for this release and that the systems can still be released. So you've got here the possibility of huge amounts of information to be able to be stored and to prove your testing and the value of the testing that you've performed. Okay, so having talked about the reports and what you want to come out with at the end of the system, let's now start, lots of reports here, going through a flow of the system. So let's just go back here, and we're going to take a flow, and we're going to assume for a moment that you want to use JIRA. You can do all this independently in PractiTest if you want to. You can use PractiTest as a standalone ALM tool, but so many people use it for JIRA integration and want to see the value of the JIRA integration that we're going to do it as in this particular demo as a JIRA flow. So if we start at the requirements module in PractiTest, this is where you store things like your user stories, and you use it to build up your list of user stories, which you will then link to your test cases for fulfilling each of those requirements, those user stories. So you can see that my user stories have been pulled in from JIRA over here, most of them. I've created a few independently. You can do that if you want to as well. And here is the JIRA flow showing the JIRA story. Now, obviously, in reality, the story will start in JIRA. But because I'm not a common user of JIRA, I don't use it most of the time, I'm going to start from PractiTest. And I'm going to click on the link in PractiTest, which will take me to my JIRA issue over here. And here is my JIRA. It's an item called DPP626, and it is a new feature. And if we look at it, we've got a description of it. There's all the information. And then below, we have a unique panel here called the PractiTest integration. And this contains information which is relevant from PractiTest. This story in PractiTest is linked to several test cases, which I have either imported or created within PractiTest. And each of these test cases, through that traceability link, will now appear in Jira over here. And you can see that they're all set to a status of no, run or passed or failed. I can even click on the little arrow and you can see the names of the test steps within those test cases as well. So when you create an item in Jira, a user story, the first thing that you want to do is to sync it into PractiTest. Well, we have a way of doing this automatically. There are three ways of doing it. You can either click this little blue button, that will sync it into PractiTest and then start creating a test for you. Or if you prefer, you can import it into PractiTest using the import link. Let's just get a new tab up. Let's go over here. Here we go. And so the alternative is to go to the requirements. This was DPP 426. And what you can do is you can click sync a requirement from Jira. Then you can see that you can click on your item, you can comma separate them. I don't know if we've got a 427 or not. Let's try 427, comma 428. DPP icon 428, and then we can import them. If they exist, they do both exist, and they've been successfully imported. So if you know your requirements, you can import them manually, but there's a much better way, and that is to use a Jira filter. And if you have a Jira filter, which you call your PractiTest filter, all you have to do is tell your users in Jira, your project managers, product managers, all they have to do is if they want anything to be tested, all they have to do is to put it into your PractiTest filter. And we can set up an automation in PractiTest so that it will automatically import anything in that Jira filter. So DPP 427, 428 might be in your PractiTest testing filter, then it will automatically sync into PractiTest. And you can see all of your user stories now have been synced into PractiTest. So here they are, and they tell us their external status. Let's just open up 427 for a moment. Happens to be a bug, not a story, but anyway, here it is. And then I can write a test case to link to it. So if I go over here and I create add new, this is now going to create a test case. It gives me all my information over here, which has been synced in. And then I can say, change it. If I need 2 or 3 tests to cover this particular bug, I can then delete the bits which I don't want. It won't change in Jira. This won't change in Jira, which is good, because it will keep it in Jira as it is. But I can make sure that my test cases fully cover this requirement. I can then add some steps, put in a step 1. There we go. And that's step 1, expected result. Yep. Okay, all done. Click Save Changes. And I have now created the test. And you'll see that the traceability has been linked in as well. There's the requirement. And if we go back to DPP 427 in Jira, let's click on that, you will see that it now has one test case linked to it. Wait for it to come up. There we go. And there's our new test case which we've just linked to it. It's called test 207. And if we look at the name was indeed step 1. And you can see it showing a status of no run. And this is great because it means that your project managers can look at a list of requirements and see if you've done anything to test them yet. They put them into the Jira filter, they've been automatically moved into PractiTest. If you haven't started doing anything, this panel will appear blank. If you've started creating the test cases, then they'll see that you've got test with no run here and the last run date blank. Once you start testing, they'll see that these statuses change. And we'll come back and refer to this as we go through the flow. And you'll see that this will update as we start running the test. So let's go back in PractiTest. Here is the test case number 207, and we don't execute test cases in PractiTest from the test library. We need to put them into what's called a test set, or you might know them as test suites or scenarios. You put them into those to actually execute them. The reason for doing it this way is that we want these test cases to be reusable. And you'll see the reusability that you can put the test case into multiple test sets as what we call instances. And the instances are traceability copies of the test case for execution. If you want an analogy, then think about one of these big libraries, not the lending libraries where you take all the books out with you, but a resource library where, for example, in London, you have the British Library, or in other countries, you probably have the reference libraries where you keep information about the history of the country, documents and things like that. So if you want to take a document out from there, what you do is you go into the library, you find the document, and then you ask them to make a copy of that document. And then you could have multiple copies of the document. You could ask them for 2 photocopies of the document. You then put those documents into a folder, which you mark with the information to say what this is. And then you take it home with you and you write your notes on those photocopies and you use those photocopies. That's the analogy with practice. You don't touch the test cases in the test library. They're there to be used by anyone and to be copied, and you keep the traceability back from the instance of the test case in the test library. But once you put them into your test suites, then you can execute these traceability copies, and they keep the traceability back to the original test case. So you can see the history of what's been done on the test case and all the separate instances which live their own lives from that test case. If something changes on the test case in the test library, all future runs will also be updated, but not past runs. Obviously, something which you've worked on already, you don't want changing. But anything which you use in the future will update and change. So, Fernando, can I invite you to come and join the discussion? We just allow you to talk.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Excellent.
Thank you for letting me to speak and ask that question.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we kind of have a lot of challenge when we are doing the development
Right.
is the developers most of the time provide us feedback and ask, hey, is that possible that you can have the test cases ready by the time I'm doing the development? And
Right.
sometimes it's challenging because it's a new thing, right? It's a new feature, it's a new user case, and we don't have it at that time, right? QA can have it at that time because they are testing other things, so they can be, in parallel at this point. Sometimes ape is maybe a fix, so I already have everything in my library, and yeah, probably I can provide. But the thing that we found is even with the requirements, so we can pull the Jira user story, we can add the test cases upfront before even the developer touch that user story. But we say, okay, so I give you all this information, but you are limited on just to see the steps. So when you pass to QA, now I don't know if you really run this test cases. Why? Because your license can run the test cases, but there is no indication that you tell me sign off that you actually run the test cases for you to make sure everything is working and you can pass that to QA. Is that any way? Well, right now, what we are doing is just put in the comment, yes, I ran the test and it's ready. But is any way that we can set a status, not even using the whole PractiTest capability, but at least in status or something that say me, yes, I ran this test and everything is good. Now it's ready for QA.
Okay. So what you're talking about, if I understand you correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, the developers are meant to do some form of maybe a unit test or something like that
Correct.
to validate the feature to a level that it's ready for QA to test.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there are a couple of ways to go around this. The first one I'm thinking of is that what you could do is in the test library, if you go back to the general tab in the test library, we've got the status here. Now, the status is usually taken to be the QA. This is the possession of QA. The QA says that it's ready, or it's a draft ready for review, ready review complete to repair or obsolete.
Mm-hmm.
But what you could do is you could add a status over here, which would say, for example, unit testing complete or something like that. So you would know that the status of the test is ready for you to take it out into the open.
But the developer going to be able to change that status? Because as far as I know,
No,
they can't do anything.
if they're running on a
Yeah.
developer license in PractiTest is really there for using the issues module. If you're using Jira already, then the developer licenses are really a very limited use. Just thinking a moment. We do have I'm not sure if this would be good for you or not, but we do have, because obviously budgets are important. What we have now is the pricing scheme of PractiTest has changed. Obviously, if you're using developer licenses, you're on the old pricing system, which is enterprise and ultimate. But we do have a new pricing system, and I don't know if this would be used to you, which does not have enterprise and ultimate, but has what's called team and corporate. And it's a tiered pricing scheme so that it goes from 0 to 10 users, 10 to 20, etc. And it's got different tiers of numbers of users. But the important difference in your case could be that you have a commenter license instead of a developer license. The developer license has been phased out on the new pricing system. And so instead of having developers, you have commenters. And commenters are allowed to write comments on any module of the system. So they could write a comment here to say, we've done our QA, we've done our development testing, our unit testing. But again, that would help you by showing over here that we've got a comment saying, not here, slightly lower down, it would say that it's been done, but you can't filter based on comments. So that might not give you the value that you need there either.
I mean, right now is exactly what we are doing. I mean, in Jira, they entered the comments, say, yeah, is I run the unit test where it's ready for QA. That's it. But I was just thinking that would be nice if they can just, change the status. And
no, you do need a full license to be able to change the status on the test module. It's only the issues module which you can change information for in PractiTest. Hang on a sec, let me just think. There is another possibility, but that would only carry through to the requirement. Would it be any help if they put the note into the requirement? Because all the test cases, the linked tests are linked to the requirement. They could put the note into the requirement to say that they tested it, and then that would sync into PractiTest. But you could also sync a custom field. You could have a custom field in the requirement saying, in the requirement in Jira, saying that unit testing complete, and then that could sync into PractiTest. Or you could even do it in external status. You see, you've got your external status here. You could have a status in Jira called unit testing complete. That would then sync into PractiTest, and you can filter on that status. That might give you what you want. And then you see what you can do is you can have your linked tests here, and then you'll know that all of these linked tests are now set to unit testing complete.
Okay. Yep, I like the idea.
That might help you, and that would solve the licensing issue because you could just do it as an extra status within Jira, in the external statuses in Jira. And you will see that information here. You can do a filter based on it. It will show you which ones are complete. You can then select the test, and then either you can just write down the test, go into the test library, select them with the checkbox at the right, move them into a test set, or whatever you want to do with them at that point.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Yep, this is a good idea. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, let's have a look. We've got a question from Katerina. Is there to start? Yes. Let's let you ask your question a moment. Katerina, would you like to join?
Hello, do you hear me?
Hello, yes.
Hi there. My question is about test cases because I
Yeah.
saw there the chance to change it from the draft status
Yes.
to another one, and I would like to know if there is any chance to change it wholesale.
You could, yes, you could change, but good point, and I forgot to mention it. Thank you for bringing it up. So what you can do is you can select a group of test cases with the checkboxes, for example, these, and then there's a button called Batch Edit over here. And if you click that Batch Edit, then you can see all of the fields which are contained within these tests, within this project. And you'll see that we've got over here somewhere status. And we can select the status and change them as a group.
Excellent. Thank you very much, because I didn't notice.
That's absolute pleasure. And you can do it with other fields within as well. You don't have to do it just for statuses. So you have these custom fields, and the custom fields perform, just for those who don't know, the custom fields perform two roles within PractiTest. The first one is to allow you to organize your data. So you organize, for example, test cases by useful information for a test case. For example, areas of the software, features, components, subcomponents, things like that. And so you can put them in, and then once you've got them here, you can use them for organizing it. You can filter by the contents of them, either a single field or multiple fields together. You can then create them. You can also create automatic filters. So I can create one single filter, which will automatically expand and collapse to show me all my different features in business flow, for example. So if I go back to the test library, and the same applies to all the modules, it's not just the test library. So if I do new filter, I can do either, let's call it, I can do either an auto filter, which will show me all the values for these particular filters, or I can do manual filters, really powerful manual filters. I can do them either cascading, or I can do one from one level to the other in a sort of tree, or I can do them just using single criteria and parents and children if I want to as well. So I've got last run, I've got sprint, I've got last modified, all my fields are in here, and then you can do useful things as well, like linked requirements. You can show, do I have linked requirements? Or you can do last modified. This is really useful for the Jira flow. That if you want to know when somebody's modified a requirement in Jira and it will flow into PractiTest, you can then use this last modified is, and then you can select in the last, let's say, 3 days, and then you can see all of the requirements which were updated in the last 3 days, and then you'll know which ones you need to go and check the modifications of and see, therefore, if you're testing these to change based on that. So that's one side, filtering. The other side is for the dashboard. Anything which is in a custom field in PractiTest, you should be able to plot on a graph, either a dashboard, either on a dashboard of a pie chart or a bar chart, or you can do them on a distribution table as well. You can plot all of these things based on the values in custom fields. So custom fields, absolutely vital for any use of PractiTest for both of those reasons, and similarly filters as well, because you can filter your dashboards as well as your reports, and just for organization simply as well. So all of these things are really relevant. So let's take our test case, number 207, and we're going to put it into a test set, into a test execution folder. So we're going to click create a test set, And it's going to bring up now the test set window. It's moved, you'll notice, to the test sets and runs module. And we can give a description. We don't have to. We do have to give it a name. Let's call it, what is it? 8 mode. There we go. 8, whoops. Star there. There we go. 8 November. And then we can fill in any of our fields that we need. So in the test sets and runs module, unlike the test library module, where you're going to do things like areas of the software or components or workflows, things like that, in the test sets and runs module, you're going to do things which are permutated, things like test level. Is this a functional or a sanity test set or a regression test set? If you want to do permutation of different devices that you're going to test on, you can have a field for that. You create these fields yourself and have exactly the fields you want. You can do your different sprints, put your sprints in here as well. This one's going to be sprint 2, I think. There we go. And we're going to do an assign to as well, and assign it to me. And then I'm going to click create. And what it's going to do now is it's going to create for me a test set with this, or it could be multiple instances. It could even be the same instance multiple times in it. And here is the traceability copy of that test case. And when I'm ready to, I can run it. So I'm going to click the run button here. For some reason it failed at the moment. Probably because I haven't finished with it yet. There we go. Let's give it a go now. Yeah, I didn't finish saving it. I didn't save it. I just put in all the information and forgot to save it. So now it's saved. Here we are. This is the wonderful instructions I gave it. Description, be done. Expected result, be done. Actual result was, that's different. Therefore, it's going to either pass or fail. And I can do fail and issue. And what I'm going to select is I'm going to create a Jira issue for this. And you'll see that it's in project. I can select the project which I want, and it reproduces my bug for me. It tells me all the steps I performed, expected result was, actual result was, and so I never have to write a bug manually again. I know that when I was a QA tester many years ago, one of the things I hated was stopping my testing and manually writing up bugs. With this, you don't have, as long as you follow the instructions which you were meant to follow in the steps, you never have to write a bug again manually. It will write it automatically for you. If you need to make a change to it, then you can do that, but you don't have to, because it will write it all up for you. Any fields in Jira which you need to fill in can be brought in here as well. These are Jira fields, not PractiTest fields, and I can put them in over here. And then I can create the issue in Jira Cloud. And then if I go and click here, it will show me my issue in Jira Cloud, which I've just created. Here it is, bug reported for test, it's DPP678. And if I scroll down, here's my test. This is the run, and it shows me which step 1 failed, the name of the step that failed. Here's the run status of it, tester, test traceability, etc. Now, I've got some really good developers here, and the developers are going to fix this issue immediately for me. They're going to say fix with commit. Please retest. There we go. I'm going to click over here, save. And now, if we go back to PractiTest, I'm going to go back to PractiTest. Let's just see that we're showing over here, its status is to do. We don't want it to be to do anymore. Let's change that from to do to in review. Now we're going to call in review ready for testing. So if we go back to PractiTest, I can check this out in PractiTest, and I can see in PractiTest, if I go to my issues module, I can see this view one. That's not the one, that's PP751. But I can look at my ready for retest filter. And my ready for retest says status is in review and last modified is in the last 48 hours. So if I click on that filter, you can see that there's one test in it, and this is DPP678, which is the one which needs to be run. and it's ready for testing. So if I click on it, I don't have to go searching for it now. I can just simply click on it, go to the traceability tab, and over here you can see the test case. And on the right-hand side, you can see step 1 failed. So this is the test case, and this is the test run that failed. If I click on the run, it will take me into the run, and I can see what failed, and I can review this and say, oh yes, I remember this. Now, you're not going to change this to pass. You're going to go back 1 level to the instance. It's very bad practice to change a run which has actually happened. But you don't need to go searching. You can just click over here, and then click Save and Run Now, create a new run, and then you can run it again. And this time the run is here, and that's a pass. Fernando. Yeah. Fernando? You're still...
No, I didn't say anything. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, you raised your hand, I thought.
Oh, I never lowered the hand, sorry.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay, we do have another question though. So, Katrina, yes. Oh no, that's also, sorry, I'm getting a bit ahead of, behind myself here. I've answered that, yes, okay. There we go. So, now we've got this and it's passed. So, there are 3 possibilities. Either it could pass, which is what it's done. It could fail again with the same issue. So if it fails with the same issue, you're going to want to click Link Existing Issue, and you just put DPP 678 in there, and then link it to STEP, and you will bring in the new issue, the same issue, into the new run. Or it could be a totally new issue it could fail with. So then you press the Fail an Issue button and close off the previous bug. You say the previous bug passed, but we've got a new issue over here, and so we're going to do a fail in this issue. But in this case, we're going to say it passed. So if we go back to DPP 427, we're going, because Jira is always considered to be the source of truth, we make the changes on the Jira side. We don't change them in PractiTest. So it's not editable in PractiTest. So here we are. My actions are as follows. This happens, be done. Oh, no, sorry, that's 427, wrong one. 678, here we go. Please retest. So we can do retested and pass. Just to show that we could do it if we wanted to in the comment. We can write it as a comment if we prefer. Again, it's up to your process how you would want to do it, but just to show that it's able to be done either way. Click Save, change status to done. And now you can see if we set it to done. If you look back into PractiTest now, you can see that if we refresh the screen, not this page, if we go back to the instances page, because it wasn't in this run, we never attached it to this run, we left it as failed in the previous run, you see it's already updated to done over here. And if we go back to the issues module, you'll see it's gone from here because it's no longer in the issues ready for retest, because it's not ready for retest anymore. It's done. And if we want to see it, we can go to DPP. And there's DPP 678 showing as done. And if we look inside it, you can see there's the comment retested and passed. And in the description as well, retested and passed over here as well. So we've got all the information that we need. And that basically completes the flow from practice. Any further questions? Anything else you'd like me to go through, which I haven't been through?
Yes, this is Fernando,
okay.
And I was I'm kind of waiting for the AI part.
All right. The AI part is pretty new. I am not an expert in it yet. I can show you where in theory it is. Customize annotation type. I'm not sure if it's in mine yet. No, I don't. Let me just check in the account settings. Oh, this isn't my account, is it? Somebody else's account. I need to switch back to my own account. let me just go into my own account and let's go to account settings and just check them out. So here we go. Generative AI consent over here. This is very, very early. I wouldn't even say it's a beta release. I'd say it's an alpha release. You agree to comply by the and OpenAI's usage term. Let's turn it on over here. And then, okay, so there we go. We've turned it on. And if I go back to my test library now, I should be able to, I've only been shown this once, so I ask you to be patient with me because it's very new. Let's try login test. This equals login. Okay. And then if we go to the steps, or maybe we have to save it first. Do save changes. And then if I go to steps, reorder step action. No, oh, here we are, over here. There's this little button over here, Smartbox AI Assistant. If we click on that and click Generate Steps, hopefully it's thinking about it. It's going to ChatGPT or somebody, and it's asking them for the step. It takes a couple of minutes to do it.
Do you know if it will have the capability to kind of generate the steps for tests that you already have in the library?
If you've got the test cases in the library, it should be able to, but I think it overrides. So here we go. Here's the steps it's given me. Enter a valid username and password. System should accept username and password without errors. Click on the login button. The system should successfully process the request with a loading indicator. After successful login, the system should redirect the homepage dashboard. Make sure that the system redirects it. Check the proper user greeting. The system should display proper user greeting. I wouldn't have thought of that bit. Ensure that the greeting message is displayed in the correct username. Check that on the logout button. Check the successful logout. The system should log the user out and redirect to the login page. There you go.
Yep.
Wow. So, as I said, it's very early days. It managed to do this. I'm not sure how much other stuff it can manage at this stage. This is literally the first I've seen of it. I only was told about it in the last day or two.
So if I want to try, I can just turn on, try and
Yes.
turn off, so
Yes.
I don't affect.
You can turn it on, you can turn it off. You've got this black button up here that you can use subsequently to start trying to use it. Experiment with it a little bit, and please give us some feedback. Let us know how you get on with it. As I said, I think it runs on the ChatGPT engine, and as you know, ChatGPT learns as it goes. So, so it is early days. It might give you great value. It might at this stage not, but we really value your feedback from it to know how it's getting on.
All right, thanks.
Okay, and with that, I think we're just about done for time. So thank you everyone for joining. I hope you found it beneficial and useful to you. And as I said at the beginning, please feel free to sign up for the online test conference. It is completely free, no obligations. You don't have to become a PractiTest user. We won't chase you to become a PractiTest user. It's just there for people in the community to help them with testing and to give you a fresh insight, the sort of insight you will get by going to physical conferences without needing to take the time or the huge amount of money to actually physically go to those conferences. We have speakers of equal caliber, many of them who do speak at these big physical conferences as well. So this is your opportunity to get the benefits from their expertise and participate in discussions with them as well. So thank you, and hope you have a good rest of the day.
You too, Anthony. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye.
You too.